Do you dread going to work? Does it feel like an endless loop you can't escape from? Most people spend about a third of their lives at work, so if your job is making you miserable, of course it's going to affect your mental health. And it doesn't matter if you make minimum wage or $45 an hour. A lot of people are feeling the exact same way right now. Job satisfaction has dropped to a new low in the US, and it's not just making people feel stuck, it's making them depressed. That's what I'm talking about today, why work feels so miserable right now, and what you can do if your work is affecting your mental health. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy. I have bipolar disorder and I make videos about mental health and personal growth. There are a lot of reasons why you might feel depressed at work. So if you dread work, the first question to ask yourself is, why do I feel this way? Is it working in general? Is it your specific job? Is it burnout? Or could you actually be struggling with depression and your job is just making it worse? This can be hard to figure out right now because a lot of people are struggling. According to a Gallup poll from March 2026, more workers say they are struggling than thriving for the first time on record. On top of that, engagement is at its lowest level in years, and half of all workers say they're looking for a new job. So it's not surprising that so many people feel depressed right now. There's also been a shift in people's relationship with work. There was a time when work wasn't just something you did, it was part of your identity. Your workplace was your community. When you worked hard, it mattered, and you felt like you mattered too. Now, work feels like a transaction, and our jobs, they no longer feel meaningful. That sense of loyalty and feeling valued by your employer has changed. That's part of why engagement is down and also why so many people have mentally checked out. But even when you check out, work can still affect you because no matter how hard you try to separate yourself from your work, you can't fully do this. Work isn't just a paycheck. It affects your mental health and other areas of your life. You can't fix your workplace, society, or the system, and you can't just opt out of paying your bills. But you can figure out what's actually making you feel miserable and depressed, and then you can decide what to do about it. There are actually psychological reasons why work feels so bad right now. Researchers have studied what we call the psychosocial work environment and have discovered 3 factors that make an enormous difference in how we feel emotionally at work. The first is autonomy, having some say or control over how you do your job. The second is boundaries, and this doesn't just mean boundaries between your work life and home life. It also means having clarity on your role at work so you're not taking on responsibilities that aren't part of your job. And the third is stability, feeling secure. So you're not worrying about when your hours are going to be cut or if you're going to be the next person laid off. When these 3 things are missing, it doesn't just make your time at work more stressful. It takes a toll on your overall well-being. So if you're unhappy at work, the first step is figuring out why. If you're struggling with depression, it may not be because of your job, but your job might be making it worse. If you think it's depression, one question you can ask yourself is, if I had a job I actually liked, would I still feel the same way? If the answer is yes or you're not sure, then it might be depression. Depression usually isn't just about work. When you have depression, you might feel low even when you're not working. You may not enjoy things you used to enjoy, or you might feel more tired all the time. If you think this is depression, this is something you're going to want to talk to your doctor or therapist about because depression isn't caused by work or a situation. And if you're having these feelings not just at work, but when you're at home, it could be depression and your work might just be making it worse. If you're pretty sure it's your job that's making you depressed, ask yourself a few quick questions to help you decide. Do you feel relief when you leave work? Does the dread set in when you start thinking about going to work or right before you have to go to work? Have you had other jobs that you liked before? You could be experiencing burnout. Burnout is usually linked to feelings of exhaustion. You might not actually hate your job, you might just feel exhausted and drained from the demands of your job. If you hate your job and you're pretty sure it's not burnout, that it's your job making you feel depressed, then you will feel symptoms like feeling depressed, feeling overwhelmed. You might even feel sick before going into work. You might cry in your car before you go to work because you just dread going into your job. And this situation where you hate your job, but you don't really hate working, you usually have had jobs that you actually liked, and you may have even liked the job you're in now, but every day you go in, you feel depressed and don't want to be there. If you're feeling depressed at your job and you know it's your job that's making you feel this way, there are some things you can do. So the two big things is changing your relationship with your work or planning an exit strategy. So this job is not the only job out there. Yes, the job market might be tough right now, but you can start working on planning an exit strategy if you really hate your job and it's making you miserable, depressed, feeling sick. Staying there may not be what's best for you. Yes, a lot of people say we all hate our jobs, but if your job is making you miserable, that's beyond normal. I just don't want to go to work today. I'm going to give you some tips, but I'm also going to suggest talking to a therapist if your work is making you severely depressed or, dreading coming to work, having panic attacks before work, that kind of thing. Talking to a therapist could help. So these are the things I would do and that I have done. Emotionally detach from your workplace. So that means not sharing everything with your coworkers, just kind of going there, doing your job and going home. Not giving it your all and extra, doing your job, but don't go overboard trying to make your employers happy to try to take away that stress. Just emotionally detach, go in, do your job, and go home. Another thing you should do is set boundaries. So if you have a job where they call you on your off time, you don't have to answer your phone. You're not getting paid for this. So, either don't answer your phone, turn your phone on silent, or whatever you need to do to get that break from your work and set that limit of this is my home time, this is my work time. Use your PTO and vacation time. I have mentioned this in other videos. If your workplace is really making you struggle and you need a mental health day, take it. That's why you have PTO. That's why you have vacation time. So if you need it, use it. Something I've also mentioned in other videos, if you're having severe depression, especially if you have an illness like bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder or even major depression, talk to your doctor about it. There's something called intermittent FMLA, and it's a form you can get from your HR department, give to your doctor to fill out. And this way, if you need to take a day off because of your mental health, you can, and you can just log those hours as part of your intermittent FMLA. So if you're really struggling, this is an option. And finally, plan your exit strategy. Just having a game plan for I'm not going to be working in this environment the rest of my life can help you mentally to cope with things. So what if it's not your job? What if you just don't like working at any job? That's me. I hate working at jobs, and it doesn't really matter what the job is. I've never liked having a job. Everyone has different reasons for feeling this way, but if you absolutely hate working, start thinking about what would make you happier. We all have bills to pay, but a job may not be your only option. Here's a few things you can try if you really hate working. Now, these are just options, and they may not all be the right things for you, but a lot of these are doable, and some of them I've done myself. So the first thing you could try is to start a business or a side hustle. There's a lot of things that you could do as a business. If you have a skill, you can start a consulting business. Or if you're crafty, you could start an Etsy business or a dog sitting business. There's a lot of things you could do on the side to build up a business while you're working, if that's something you're interested in. You can also freelance. There's a lot of things you can do freelancing. Like I have used Upwork and Fiverr. They're both platforms, and they have different types of gigs there. But if you're good at social media, or you're good at writing or video editing or even photography, they have different gigs you can pitch and get. And I've made a decent income on Upwork in the past, so it's something that's definitely doable. You can also do things like DoorDash or Uber. A lot of people do this when they're not working, and I know people who do that full time. But this is not for everyone. Some people find businesses and freelancing more stressful than having a job. So if that's you, I'm going to give you a few more tips on how you can deal with your job if it's making you depressed. If you really just can't change your circumstances right now and you feel stuck in your job, there are still things you can do to make it a little less miserable, to make it a little more tolerable so that you can handle the depression it's causing a little better. It doesn't change the job or the situation, but it can make it a little easier to deal with until you come up with a plan to either find another job or find some solution to how you're feeling in your job. So again, detach emotionally. You do not have to give it your all. You have to do what you're required to do your job, and come home. Make the most of your time off. This is your time to decompress, recover, and not have the workplace and your feelings about it following you home. So when you're at home, try to do things you like and enjoy to give you a little more joy while you're at home so your work isn't coming home with you. Try to find ways to make your work day go by faster. This isn't always easy. I try to do this myself because sometimes the workday can drag on and on and on. So I will just set mini goals. I'm going to get this done by 11 a.m. and I'm going to plug along at this until 1 p.m. And breaking it into smaller chunks helps me to get through the day faster. And another thing, take your breaks. You don't know how many people I know that work through their lunch break, that don't take their 15-minute breaks. We just work, and don't take that time to take a break. Those breaks help you. So stop giving that time to your employer. You're entitled to a break. Sit down, rest a little, and take your breaks. Take advantage of any downtime you have. Now, every workplace is different, so you may not be able to do all of these, but if you have moments where nothing's going on and you're just sitting there, you can grab a piece of paper and sketch, write notes. If you're allowed to wear earbuds, you can listen to audiobooks or podcasts to make your day go by a little better. It just depends on what you're allowed to do at your work, but I call this my secret survival plan. Find ways to take advantage of any downtime you can to kind of get through your day. This isn't my typical mental health video, but I know so many people right now that are depressed and miserable because of their jobs right now. So I thought it was important to talk about. And if you have a mental illness and are struggling at work, that will definitely affect your mental health, even more so than people that don't have a mental illness. So I wanted to talk about that, but I also want to give you a few more tips for things you can do if you're struggling at work and miserable and depressed right now. I've said this a couple times in the video, but create an exit plan. Write it down on paper with the steps you're going to take, how you're going to go about it. Having these things written down so you know there is an actual way out. I need to do this, this, and this will help you to get through your job and not feel so trapped there because you know there is an option. I just need to follow through on this, this, and this. Sometimes your work is so draining and you're so depressed from it that you don't have the energy to make an exit plan. If that's you, I encourage you to talk to a therapist. They can help you to come up with a plan or things you can do to feel better. And I'm going to tell you a technique I use for a lot of different situations, but it works for me for work sometimes. I will say to myself in my head, here we go again. And just saying that, like, here we go again, because there's certain dynamics at your workplace that may frustrate you, that you have no control over, and you have to deal with it day in and day out, and you have no way to change it. And those kind of things do cause frustration, burnout, and depression. So I just say, here we go again, and it helps me. And finally, make the most of your time off. Don't just come home and go to sleep, because that's what we do a lot of times. Work, sleep, repeat. Find some ways to get some joy in your life outside of your job until you can come up with a better solution to going to a job you don't want to be at. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button and, of course, subscribe. And I'd really love to hear from you. If you're having problems with depression in your work, what are you doing to cope with it? Are you looking for another job or are you using a different coping strategy? Please leave a comment if you're dealing with this, because a lot of people are, and your comment might help somebody else. I'll have another video for you guys again real soon.